Hi guys! For a while I have wanted to revisit this video that I did a number of years ago whilst I was actually hiking on the Appalachian Trail, and that was my most controversial and most watched video to date. The review that I did of my Osprey Aura AG 50 pack. I now have the experience of having hiked with an ultralight pack, which is the Zpacks Arc Haul 50 litre. To be honest, I do still stand by a lot of what I said in that review, but there are a number of things that now I've had another pack to compare to the Osprey Aura, I can not exactly backtrack on some of the things that I said, but definitely have a different perspective on some of the things that I've said, because at that time that was the only pack I'd ever had. So let's get to it. Now this has the brain on it still, this bit at the top. I actually removed the brain from this pack, so I'm not sure what the literage would be without the brain. If anyone knows that off the top of their head, hit me up, let me know. I just found that having the brain on the pack was making me put extra stuff in it that I didn't need, so I completely removed that. I will say that this pack is so comfy. So it fits wonderfully. It's got the curved straps that curve in and out, which actually it's engineered well for women because it sits above your breasts. So this goes all the way up here. You know, my breasts start here. So this goes around the side, fits really nicely. There's no squishage there for me. It's not rubbing me. The straps, you can see the gap through here. They sit above my shoulders. I'm not having this pressure that you can sometimes get on your shoulder here, which then causes like your circulation to be cut off. You get all swollen wrists and hands. It feels like you're being hugged by this bag. It is so comfortable. The straps have this kind of, it's actually quite a soft mesh that I've come to realize in comparison to bags like the Arc Haul. This mesh on the inside here is it's quite scratchy. If you have this mesh on bare skin, it doesn't really rub as much as the mesh on the Arc Haul. I'll show you the fit in comparison to the Arc Haul. So this is kind of my beef a little bit with this pack, that when I do it up, when I do this pack up, it doesn't have the straps aren't quite as rigid. They don't hold their form as well. They don't hold their shape as well. I feel like they bend in here. So obviously to save weight, they've removed some of the rigidity from some of the areas of the pack. It can lose its form a little bit here. I think that this strap here could be better placed, because I often feel, you know, my breasts start here. I often feel like it's squeezing me in, and it just causes like a lot of sweat and chafing and rubbing in there, which I don't much enjoy. This hip belt, I could actually have slightly the wrong size hip belt. Correct me if you think that I do. But again, it doesn't have the same form and rigidity as the Osprey Aura, and I feel that because of not having that form, it doesn't quite hold the bag in place in the same way that the Osprey Aura's hip belt does. I just feel that it more squishes me and it causes this to collapse in. With the shoulder area, it does sit above right now, but my bag is not completely full right now. The Osprey Aura always sits above my shoulders and floats up there and doesn't cause pain, even when it's full to the brim, and even when I have my heaviest start out kit, it always sat up there like very nicely. This tends to pull backwards here. My collarbone is often rubbed by this over and over again. For some reason as well, this bag tends to end up leaning over. I've tried to go through it a number of times, tried to reset everything. Have I maybe done something wonky? Is the hip belt wonky? Do I stand to the side? Maybe I naturally stand to the side. I think everyone sort of puts one hip or the other out more naturally. Maybe I'm creating that as I walk along, but every time I try and straighten it up, I feel like it always comes back to leaning slightly, and then this shoulder gets rubbed over and over again. I've had to put plasters on my collarbone. I've actually had scabs there where this is rubbed, where I've been in hot conditions. My collarbone's been exposed to the mesh here, which is slightly rougher, as I said before, than the Aura. I complained about the weight with this bag. Now this bag weighs about, depending on your size, let's just say around about 4.2 pounds, which is just over 2.5 kilos. Whereas this weighs about 900 grams. By the way, this situation up here is what happens when you have a fringe or bangs and you have to grow it out. The price of this and this, they're on face value around about the same. I got the Arc Haul for $275, which is around about 190 pounds, and I got this at the time for 190 pounds. The Osprey Aura has now gone down to around 170 pounds for the 50 litre. The Arc Haul, however, I did have a look on Zpacks' website, and I'm not actually sure if they still have this model. I could only find the Arc Haul Scout on there, and that's $349, whereas I paid $274 for that one. Let me know about that one. Maybe they're just sold out. I'm not sure whether they discontinued it, but on the face value of both of these, they're around about the same price. However, if you were buying both of these in the UK, you'd have to take into account the customs fees and the extra taxes added on to a Zpacks bag. So you're probably looking at, I mean, 20% plus probably 40 or 50 quid just to get it in this country. So it is quite a lot more expensive to get the Zpacks over to the UK. There are things that don't come as standard on the Zpacks that come as standard on the Osprey. So the Osprey has little pockets on the hip belt, which I did have some issues with those. Sometimes they get kind of, they sort of crease into themselves and they don't whip shut, and that used to annoy me a bit, but at least they have hip belt pockets as standard. Whereas with the Zpacks, you actually have to buy hip pockets, and you can buy pockets for up here, but they're separate. They don't come with the bag as standard, because I guess their argument is that you want the least amount of weight possible, so they give you the bag with the least amount of weight to it as standard. I guess they'll probably stick with that. I would say it's a way of making extra money, because otherwise they would just give you like the choices and add a couple of bucks, pounds on, but it's not a couple of bucks or pounds, it's quite a lot of money for the extra stuff which comes standard with other bags. The waterproofness of this bag is poor. It sucks up a lot of water, it makes it a lot heavier, you have to be careful where you put it, whereas with the Zpacks bag you don't really have to pay attention to where you're putting it. You could dump it in a puddle if you really wanted to, and it's not gonna like up that extra moisture and make the bag heavier and heavier. What I do like about the Zpacks bag is that it has the roll top. So it's like a dry bag, you roll it down and clip it shut. And yeah, I just really like that. I think it's great that you can make it higher or lower, which is effectively moving it alongside the contents of your bag. Whereas the Osprey just always, you know, opens and closes at the same point, just because hasn't got a roll top like that. Which is fine, but sometimes you can feel like the contents inside the bag can move around a bit too much, whereas if you've got a roll top bag that can go down to meet the contents of your bag, it sort of keeps everything a bit more snug and secure. Just this little thing that I like to do, I like to keep my camp shoes, which I wear Crocs, hanging on the outside of my bag. With this front mesh, you can see it here, this front mesh on the Osprey, there's a clip. The mesh has its own clip. You don't have to open the bag to access that mesh here. So I would hang my Crocs on a string through that. Whereas with the Zpacks, I go into the bag, I have to unclip that section, which means my shoes would fall off unnecessarily. Whereas if I want to go into this bag, I can go into that area independently of what's hanging off of here. So that's just like a minor little niggle for me for some reason, because if you're stopping and opening your bag multiple times a day and you've invented little ways of having things on the outside, or you've got little sections for things, and every time you want to go in your bag and grab a snack or think, oh, I need my coat or I need a jumper or whatever, and everything's falling off all the time, it can get a bit irritating. Talking of little sections for things, the Osprey Aura is great for little bits of storage and stuff. So it has this mesh on the outside, so you can put things into here. And this mesh is super strong. I remember like shoving my stove in here now and again, like the jaggedy bits of the stove, you could actually see them sticking out. Yeah, I know that's naughty, I shouldn't do that. But it never tore at all. Very, very sturdy. It's got obviously the water bottle pockets on the side here. It's got the hip belt pockets. Inside the bag it actually has a back section here, which is, I guess, to put a camelback in if you wanted, but you can also use that as an area to separate out some of your hiking gear, which is what I used to do. Just things that I wanted to be accessible and like I could just reach down the back and not have to faff around reaching around everything in the main section of my bag, which is what this doesn't have. There is nothing that secures the top of the mesh to the bag like on the Osprey. This mesh, yes, it's more lightweight, of course. It's sturdy. I'm not going to say it's ever broken. It just feels less like it's keeping everything tight. Like everything can sort of wobble around in there and move around. It doesn't have like a separate pocket. It just has one large place to put everything. That can be a bit irritating sometimes. Again, they're just saving weight because they're an ultralight company. But it can be annoying having to reach around everything. You can find little tricks and ways of making sure everything's like compartmentalized apart, but you still feel like you're hunting through everything to find what you need. What I didn't realize at the time when I did my first review was how amazing, well, I did mention it, but because I hadn't had a bag without it, I probably didn't really appreciate it. How amazing all of these little clips and sections are on the outside of your pack. Here, you know, you've got like a water bottle holder. You can put your hand sanitizer and stuff through here. There's just all sorts on this bag to help you place things around it that you just want to grab throughout the day. This doesn't have the same amount of that kind of thing, again, to save weight, but you know, it does have, you know, this bit across the bottom which you can put your tent, and it does have the mesh, but it doesn't have as many bits and pieces as the Osprey. Again, our standard to secure or things like hand sanitizer or hang a bottle or anything like that. And talking of bottles, I had bottle gate with this bag. So this was a complaint for me with this bag, that bottles are difficult to get out of it. Where is that? This actually has two directions to put the bottle in. You can put it straight up, but as you can see, it's a bit more difficult to get out. Or you can put it diagonally in here. So that's pretty cool because it gives you, depends on your arm's length and, you know, the way your body's built. You might prefer to have it straight up, or you might prefer to have it coming out of here. This is a 750 litre bottle. I think I had two 1 litre bottles, and I was complaining because this was too tight. Like, I couldn't pull it up and over the top of the bottle and get the bottle out. And then if I didn't put that on, then the bottle was just like flying out. It didn't occur to me at the time that maybe a smaller bottle would help that issue. I do like having a litre though, because it's like, I know then I've had 1 litre, 2 litre, 3 litre, 4 litre. I know it's only a bit less, but I do quite like that. However, looking at it right now, it seems like a 750ml works so much better in that pocket. So I have to kind of tell myself off for that point. Maybe that was a bit of me having hiked for months and doing the same repetitive thing over and over again. Things like that get really irritating. So let me show you by comparison to the Zpacks. You can see with the Zpacks that this only has one pocket that points upwards. There is no diagonal option. It's do or die, that or nothing. There it is, it's in there. And I will also put a little, well, it's not a disclaimer, but like a little addition that I am slightly hypermobile, not on all my joints, only on some of them, but my wrists are like, I'm just everything, my hands are always, what I'm saying is that's a plus, I think, with this, because I can be very bendy and bend to get that, whereas that might be a little bit harder for someone who isn't slightly hypermobile. I don't know, maybe I'm being pedantic, but let me see, or maybe I've just had loads of practice at this point. It's not that bad, that's fine, but I think I do prefer the diagonal pointing out ones after all my fussing about it on the last review for the Aura. I think now I've had this one as well to see the difference. I actually do think I prefer the diagonal. Both of these bags, you can see here, I hope, yeah you can, have holes in the back for a camelback, and the Osprey Aura has the little pocket, remember, inside that you could put a camelback in. I think that's actually what it's for, but I utilise it for other things. And as mentioned with this one, it actually doesn't have a separate pocket on the back, so I'm not really sure what would happen with the camelback there. I guess you have to just be more mindful when you're packing and just be a little bit more orderly with it. Overall, if I had to come to a conclusion about these, it's quite difficult to say that one is necessarily better than the other one. I would say, I'm going to put it this way, if you have a lower budget, if you have generally heavier gear, if you're just starting out, if you will take a little bit more weight to have more comfort, go for this bag. Because it's comfy as hell, it's more rigid, it's going to carry more weight, it's better engineered with things like the straps, and It's got way more adjustments on it. It comes with other things as standard, so it's good value for money that the Zpacks doesn't have, like the hip belt pockets. This is a great bag to buy. There are, of course, like with anything, there are some annoying issues with it, like the sucking up the water, the fact that it is kind of heavy. It does have quite a big weight penalty. It doesn't have a roll down top, but again, that's preference. If you are not that bothered, about being super comfortable, or if you have lots of lightweight gear anyway, this is the bag to go for, because it carries less weight, so you'll start to feel the imperfections of it not being engineered for comfort if you have heavier weight. Like, I don't really have a bunch of ultralight gear, so when I wear this bag, it probably creates issues for me to not have ultralight gear in an ultralight bag, and that might be why it's getting dragged sideways or rubbing on my collarbone and shoulder. It has cool design features like the roll down top, which I like, the fact that you can adjust this mesh on the back, like, so you can cave it in more so that more airflow can get through. I love that. The material's a lot nicer. It doesn't suck up water in the same way. It's pretty water resistant in comparison to the Osprey. I would call this more of an entry-level pack, and I would call this one more of a, I'm moving into more ultralight gear, I'm moving into carrying less stuff because I've realised what I do and don't need kind of bag. Like, money is not as much of an obstacle to me kind of pack. And there we have it. I hope that it's been helpful to have a comparison between different styles of bags, and also to have my opinion now that I've used a different style. If there's anything else that you'd like to add about this bag, let me know. I have tried to go through everything that I can think of right now, but there might be some other points to make. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you all watching. If you can support me by subscribing or liking the video, interacting with it in some way, that is so freaking helpful. If you can share it with your mum, your aunt, your cousin, your vicar, your gynaecologist, your ice cream man, anyone, please just share this video with them. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a good day.